What if I told you there exists a book so powerful, so forbidden and so mysterious that it could completely change the way you see life, death, and even the path to true understanding? A book that has been overlooked, minimized, and sometimes hidden, not because it is false, but because it contains truths too dangerous for ordinary people to confront. This is not fiction. This is history. This is the Book of Wisdom, also known as the Wisdom of Solomon. Stay with me, because what you are about to discover will challenge everything you thought you knew about wisdom, God, and the universe. For centuries, this text has been whispered about by mystics, scholars, and seekers of truth, but largely ignored by mainstream religion. And yet, its words are timeless, its message eternal, and its power undeniable. The Book of Wisdom is part of the Deuterocanonical texts, a collection of writings recognized in the Catholic and Orthodox traditions, but excluded from most Protestant Bibles. It was written in the 1st century BCE, long after Solomon's reign, but attributed to him, carrying the authority of his legendary wisdom, and from the very first line, it demands attention. It begins with a call to seek wisdom above all things, to value understanding over wealth, knowledge over power, and virtue over pride. But what makes this book so dangerous, so forbidden, is that it doesn't simply teach moral lessons. It reveals a hidden understanding of the universe. It describes the nature of God, the origin of life, the destiny of the soul, and the consequences of human pride in ways that challenge conventional religion. Its language is poetic, almost hypnotic, but its meaning is profound and unsettling. The first chapter sets the tone. Wisdom is presented as a living force, older than the world itself, present before creation, a companion to God in the shaping of the universe. It is not abstract. It is not distant. It is alive, moving among humans, guiding kings, inspiring prophets, and exposing the arrogant who believe they can ignore divine law. Imagine that, a power older than time, flowing invisibly through the world, shaping events, guiding the righteous, punishing the proud. That is the wisdom Solomon describes. And then come the warnings. The book doesn't shy away from telling the truth about human corruption. Pride, greed, idolatry, and envy are all laid bare. Those who pursue selfish ambition, who exploit the weak, who elevate themselves above divine law, they will fall. The text recounts historical examples of nations and rulers destroyed for their arrogance. Egypt, Babylon, Assyria, all warned as cautionary tales, and these stories are not just history lessons, they are moral compasses. They are reminders that the universe and God itself is not indifferent to human action. But the true heart of the Book of Wisdom lies in its revelations about life and death. Unlike other texts that promise salvation only after death, this book emphasizes the eternal nature of the soul, the rewards of virtue, and the consequences of ignorance while alive. It says that the righteous, guided by wisdom, become immortal not only in spirit, but in the legacy of their deeds. It suggests that understanding, insight, and virtue are themselves pathways to divinity, that through wisdom one participates in the eternal. And here is the controversial part. The text openly criticizes those who rely solely on ritual or obedience without understanding. To follow blindly is not enough. To perform sacrifices, to obey laws without insight, to worship without discernment. All this is meaningless if the heart is not aligned with truth. This directly challenges institutional authority, priests, and even kings who would claim that ritual alone confers righteousness. The Church, throughout history, has often feared this emphasis on personal understanding. Because if individuals can access wisdom directly, the need for hierarchical control diminishes. But the Book of Wisdom goes even further. It describes wisdom as feminine, as a guiding spirit, as an entity that interacts with humans, teaches them, and even protects them. This depiction of wisdom as an almost divine feminine force was uncomfortable for a patriarchal religious system that sought to control interpretation and authority. In its pages, wisdom chooses the righteous, inspires the humble, and guides the meek, not through coercion, but through revelation. Then there are the passages about the soul, death, and immortality. Wisdom teaches that the soul is eternal, that death is not a punishment but a transition, and that the righteous will shine more brightly than the stars. It says that those who pursue wisdom will understand the nature of creation, will comprehend the justice of God, and will stand eternally in light, while the proud and corrupt will be cut off. These ideas were revolutionary for the time. They challenged common notions of fate, divine favor, and human hierarchy. And yet, the text does not leave us without hope. It calls repeatedly for courage, integrity, and moral clarity. It says that the righteous are never alone, that God's wisdom guides them, that understanding is available to anyone who seeks it with a pure heart. It elevates the human experience, showing that every choice, every action, every thought matters in the cosmic order. It emphasizes personal responsibility and insight over ritual compliance, a dangerous message for any authority seeking control over belief. Think about the implications. In a world dominated by power, hierarchy, and institutionalized religion, this book says something revolutionary. You do not need intermediaries to access truth. You do not need rituals to understand life. You do not need authority to experience the divine. Wisdom itself is available to you if you seek it, if you cultivate understanding, and if you live with integrity. That is why it was both cherished and feared. The book also explores the mystery of creation and the nature of evil. It presents a universe ordered by divine reason, where God's wisdom maintains balance, punishes arrogance, and rewards insight. But it also reveals the consequences of ignoring wisdom. Nations fall, rulers perish, civilizations crumble. The Book of Wisdom suggests that ignorance and pride are not minor flaws, they are existential threats, and that humanity's survival depends on understanding, virtue, and the pursuit of knowledge. And then, woven throughout, there are astonishing metaphysical passages. Wisdom is described as dwelling in all creation, yet unattainable to those who are arrogant. It is a source of light that illuminates the mind, yet invisible to the proud. It is the secret companion of kings and prophets, guiding history in ways invisible to ordinary eyes. It is not a set of rules, but a living, breathing force, challenging humanity to rise above the mundane and participate in the eternal. The Book of Wisdom also contains profound ethical teachings. It emphasizes mercy over cruelty, understanding over judgment, and humility over arrogance. It calls for compassion for the weak, insight into the hearts of others, and courage in the face of temptation. It is not merely a religious text, it is a manual for enlightened living, a guide to navigating the complexities of morality, spirituality, and human society. And here is the part that makes it truly revolutionary. It suggests that wisdom, not law, not sacrifice, not ritual, is the ultimate path to God. That insight, discernment, and understanding are what connect humanity to the divine. This idea directly undermines any institution that claims authority over spiritual truth. It empowers the individual. It elevates personal awakening above blind obedience. It offers a radical, almost forbidden form of spiritual freedom. Consider this: the Book of Wisdom survived centuries of suppression, partially ignored by the Church, partially revered in secret. Yet its influence persists. Mystics, philosophers, and seekers of truth have studied it for millennia. Its lessons resonate with anyone who has ever questioned authority, sought hidden knowledge, or dreamed of understanding the mysteries of life and death. And the question now becomes, What does it mean for us today? In a world full of corruption, hierarchy, and superficial faith, the Book of Wisdom challenges us to look deeper. It asks us to cultivate discernment, to seek knowledge, to live virtuously, and to awaken to the divine presence in every moment. It tells us that true understanding is not granted by power, privilege, or ritual, but by courage, curiosity, and integrity. So why has this book been largely ignored? Because it is too dangerous, because it empowers the individual, because it dares to show that the path to God is not mediated by priests, kings, or institutions, but lies within the pursuit of wisdom itself. And that is why, despite being thousands of years old, its message is more relevant today than ever. If you take its teachings seriously, if you embrace its lessons, you begin to see the world differently. You understand that every action, every thought, every choice carries weight. You recognize that virtue and insight are not optional, but essential. And you realize that wisdom is alive, guiding you, challenging you, shaping your life in ways you may not even notice. The Book of Wisdom of Solomon is not just a text, it is a revelation, it is a guide, it is a challenge. It asks us to awaken, to understand, and to rise above ignorance. And now, after centuries of being overlooked, it speaks to you. Will you listen? Will you allow its truths to change the way you live, think, and see the universe? Subscribe now to Hidden Truths of the Bible, because the next revelation could completely transform everything you thought you knew about God, wisdom, and your place in the world. Word count, 50 words.